I've actually I began writing What Money Can't Buy, or doing the research for it, 15 years ago, I confess. A lot of people have thought that it was really the financial crisis of 2008 that prompted this, because it's really about trying to create a public debate on the moral limits of markets. But I've been toiling away on this project for about 15 years, gathering examples of the ways in which money and markets were beginning to play a greater and greater role in public life. So it's been some time in the works. I think that market triumphalism is a pervasive phenomenon. We see it in countries around the world. By market triumphalism, I mean the assumption, even the faith, that market thinking and market values can by themselves define justice and the common good. And I think this is a mistake. But this assumption, this market faith, has been, I think, informing public discourse in countries around the world over the last 3 decades especially. And it's, in many ways, what's happened is we've drifted from having market economies to becoming market societies. We've shifted from using a market economy as a tool, and it's a valuable tool, to putting everything up for sale. That's what I mean by a market society, and by the market triumphalist faith. Yes, in many ways, developments in the academy among economists prepared the groundwork for the practice of market triumphalism. And then in the early 80s, Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher came to government, came to power, making the argument that markets were the primary instruments for achieving the public good. Markets, not government. And that view had a kind of growing influence even after they left the political scene. The fundamental assumption that markets and markets alone can define justice or the good society, that was never effectively, directly challenged in public debate. And so that's one of the reasons I think that it's gained momentum. And then after the financial crisis, I think many people assumed this would be a time of questioning, that maybe the age of market triumphalism would come to an end. But we really have not had a significant public debate about what should be the role and reach of markets in our societies. And that, in a way, is the kind of debate that I'm trying to encourage with the new book. Yes, I think this is not quite the same debate as the traditional debate between capitalism and socialism, because it's possible to embrace the idea of a market economy for material goods, which is a capitalist idea, using the price system to allocate flat-screen televisions and cars, and still question the idea and worry about the tendency for the price system and for incentives and for market mechanisms and for money to dominate spheres of life outside the domain of material goods. Family life, community life, health, education, civic life, law, even voting. There are certain things that I think most people would agree should not be put up for sale. And that, I think, is the debate that we are not having and that I'm trying to encourage. So it's not quite the same debate as capitalism versus socialism. Well, some traditional critics of capitalism did question the tendency of markets to commodify everything and to drive out non-market values. So there is a certain overlap between this debate and traditional debates about capitalism. But I think that the market logic has played itself out in so many aspects of life and come to dominate so many areas of life outside the realm of flat-screen televisions and cars and toasters, that now I think people sense a kind of moral unease, quite apart from whether or not they're in favor of market economies in the material domain. Well, one of the examples that I give in the book is that in a Swiss town, when they were asked whether they would accept a nuclear waste dump in their community, the majority, 51%, said yes. And then when they were offered money to do so, the number dropped in half. And if you take standard economic reasoning, this is a paradox. Usually if you offer money to people to do something, more of them are willing to do it, not fewer. And what happened here was, I think, the sense of civic responsibility that people expressed when they were not being offered money. They were asked to make a sacrifice for the sake of the common good. And the majority were willing to do so. When money entered the picture, what had been, the question changed, the meaning of the question and of the sacrifice changed. Now it was simply a matter of whether they could be bought, whether they were willing to sell out their safety and the safety of their families for money, and that they were unwilling to do. And so this is an example of the way in which, in the civic sphere, market values can crowd out other values. This is an example of how market values and money can crowd out non-market values, in this case a sense of civic virtue or commitment to the common good. Well, I think there's a tendency to think that we can outsource moral judgment and civic discourse to markets, because markets seem to be neutral, value-neutral instruments. But that's a mistake. But it's an important and influential mistake, I think, that we've been making in many democratic societies around the world in recent decades. So what I am hoping to do with this new book, What Money Can't Buy, is to offer examples and also a philosophical framework to promote and encourage and maybe inspire public discourse about how to value goods and social practices, from family life to health to education to civic life to law, and to have a debate about where markets serve the public good and where they don't belong, where they may do damage to important non-market values. This is a debate that we have not had in recent decades, and my hope is to encourage a morally more robust kind of public debate about the role and reach of money and markets in our society.